Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. So, I guess somewhat of an emergency show here. And listen, this isn't catching anybody by surprise, but it's definitely bad news as we've gotten an update from the Tucker Kraft injury. It is indeed, as confirmed by Adam Schefter, I believe was the first one I've seen reported, a torn ACL for Tucker Kraft. So obviously that means his season is over. We're going to dive into the rest of the tight end room. We'll talk about what this means for the Packers roster and maybe what kind of effects it could have from a schematic standpoint as well. Before we dive into all that, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for us, hit like, hit subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Like later on this evening, 6 p.m. Central, we'll be going live for PTA Live, where we're going to break down all of the PFF grades and kind of talk about what happened in that loss to the Carolina Panthers. So let's jump into it. And I see the chat already filling up in here. Appreciate y'all hopping in here on such short notice. Obviously, this is the news that we all somewhat expected. We were hoping for something positive. There were some reports that were coming out on Twitter yesterday by the Twitter doctors. It is what it is. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Some were giving me a little bit of hope that it might be an MCL. Several doctors had mentioned that over on X. And you know, in all honesty, just seeing the way that Tucker Kraft responded, hearing Matt LaFleur's comments after the game, you kind of suspected it was going to be an ACL. So here we are. Let's dive into it, man. Let's see what we have here in terms of the Tucker Kraft injury. So Adam Schefter test confirmed the Packers tight end Tucker Kraft did in fact tear his ACL as feared per source. So that probably came from the team or obviously Tucker Kraft's camp, you know, his agent, his side there. So it sucks, man. This was a guy that was really stepping into his own. He became a leader. You see the C on the chest. That's something I felt like he earned last year. Obviously, Matt LaFleur had mentioned it in the offseason as well, how Tucker Kraft was just always around the facility the entire offseason. Listen, I think you're still going to be able to take advantage of his leadership. Now, hopefully he'll be around the team as much as possible. Sometimes those injuries, the best thing to do is just get away from the facility. But, you know, and obviously traveling is going to be an issue. But what I hope we would still see, and I know if Tucker Kraft has anything to say about it, he's still going to be in the meeting rooms. He's still going to be helping Luke Musgrave and John Fitzpatrick and whatever other tight end they may potentially sign to the roster or potentially trade for, right? That's something that could be a possibility as well if there is a decent tight end on the market. I'm going to mention one here in a second if I can remember to at the backside of this pod here that I think will be maybe worth going and trying to get. We'll talk about that, like I said, if we have time. But let's talk about where he ranked across the NFL. All right. So in terms of PFF grades, when you remove a lot of the noise and really get the targets to the guys that are heavily targeted, i.e. the tight ends that are playing the majority of the snaps, you can see Brock Bowers grading out at 89.1 for the Raiders. Sam Laporta, 81.8 for the Lions. Dalton Kincaid, 79.2 for the Bills. And then at number 4 spot, you had Tucker Kraft at a 78.1. So he was off to an amazing start this football season, a guy that you could just tell had quickly become Jordan Love's top target, right? And when you look at the stats here, not just from a PFF standpoint, but also from an NFL Pro standpoint, Tucker Kraft was third in the league in receiving yards amongst tight ends at 489 receiving yards. The only guys ahead of him, Ty Warren, the rookie tight end, and of course, Travis Kelce had 540 yards. However, when you look at the touchdowns, Tucker Kraft was, it looked like, at least in this top 15 in yardage of those tight ends, Tucker Kraft was leading the league with 6 touchdowns. So again, it's easy to pile on the game yesterday, and I know there's a lot of people calling for Matt LaFleur's job and this and that. You want to know why the red zone struggles continued yesterday? You lose Tucker Kraft. I can't even remember what quarter he got hurt in. Maybe it was on the backside of the game. I'm trying to remember right offhand, and maybe I do have it noted here. So it looks to me like it was probably in the third quarter, right? Early third. So you like your chances of getting Tucker Kraft the ball in the red zone, especially inside the 10. That's something he's done really, really well with, right? He's great with yak yardage, all that stuff. So that's another reason why they probably struggled in the red zone yesterday. So again, Tucker Kraft, third most receiving yards amongst tight ends this year. Yards per reception, looking at the stats here just really, really briefly, looks like he was leading the league in yards per reception at the tight end position as well. So I would love to come in here and sugarcoat it. You'd be like, oh, guys, we're going to be fine. Everything's good. This isn't a big loss. This is a huge loss. Now, if you guys remember in 2010, we lost Michael Finley. I specifically remember as a young Packers fan going, well, there goes the season. He was the guy, right? Mr. YOLO, right? Yodo is what he said, right? Year of the takeover. I remember it's like, this is the year that your Michael Finley just dominates those one-on-one matchups and Mike McCarthy's West Coast spread offense. And obviously he went down with an injury, right? The one that I think ended up ending his career, if I remember correctly. So you had that happen. You had Ryan Grant went down, of course, was replaced by James Starks, who played a huge role in the Packers winning the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying this is the end of the season. We're all doom and gloom. But, man, this is a huge, huge loss. You're talking about Tucker Kraft was on pace to put up maybe the best year in best tight end statistical season in the history of the Green Bay Packers. So it's just a huge blow. When you look at the receiving leaders on the team, Tucker Kraft was actually Jordan Love's leading receiver with 489 receiving yards. He also had the most touchdowns with 6. Behind him is Romeo Doubs, who we did a video earlier this morning. There's some rumors swirling that Jacksonville is trying to pry Romeo Doubs away from the Green Bay Packers as well, right? Matthew Golden is third at 262, Josh Jacobs fourth at 204, then Christian Watson at 143. Here's what I think this does spell, guys. I think you're going to see Christian Watson really scream to the forefront of the focal point of this offense now, right? I think you're going to have to press into 11 personnel a little more than you wanted to. And if you're wondering why are teams pressing into 12 so much, the analytics are showing that the productivity, right, the production, if you will, out of 12 and 13 personnel in the passing game is off the charts right now. So that's why teams are pressing into it. It's kind of the it fad this year in the NFL. But listen, you got to play to the strength of your roster. So I think they'll probably take a step back, press into 11 personnel a little bit more. And you know what? That kind of caters Musgrave's game. You know, if you force them into a nickel defense instead of a base defense, what I think could happen here, guys, I think the running game may improve. And that's not to say that the running game is better without Tucker Kraft. I think what it's going to do is force Matt LaFleur to come out of 12 personnel a little bit more and go into 11, spread things out, and maybe that'll open some stuff up in the running game. Musgrave, I'll say this too about Musgrave. We'll talk about him here in a second, but just briefly, we soon forget, right, that Musgrave was supposed to be the guy, and Tucker Kraft was kind of the backup plan. Well, Musgrave gets hurt, and Tucker Kraft gets his opportunity, and he takes it and runs with it, right? So we've all been hypercritical of Luke Musgrave. I say we because it's mainly me. You know, what I've seen on tape, I have not been impressed with. But anyone who makes the argument that Luke Musgrave has had limited opportunities and he hasn't had a chance to really build his role in this offense, that's a true statement. And we've always acknowledged that. So maybe Luke Musgrave can take advantage of this situation. The same thing Tucker Kraft took advantage of the situation when Musgrave went down, right? So I am kind of excited to see if Musgrave rises to the occasion here. He's only got 10 targets on the year, 9 catches, 88 yards. The other thing I will say here, guys, is when it comes to the separation, when it comes to Tucker Kraft and his statistical performance, I do believe that the majority of his catches, he's open. It's not like he's having to battle for a contested catch this year. Now he could do that, don't get me wrong. But the point I'm trying to make is some of these looks that Tucker Kraft has had, we will have no problem getting Luke Musgrave open the same exact way, right? There's not a route I've seen Tucker Kraft run this year that I would look at and think Luke Musgrave can't do that. Where the team is going to take a huge hit is going to be the yak yardage, that tough, yards after catch, fighting through, like Tucker Kraft said, always making the first guy miss, always running through that first DB. That is not Musgrave's game. Now, Maybe that will evolve as the season goes along. But I think what you're going to see is them press into 11 personnel a little bit more. I know Emilio last night on the post-game show said maybe even 10 personnel, meaning one running back, no tight ends, and let's just put all wide receivers out there. You'll have kind of a hybrid 10 approach if you go with 11 personnel and flex Musgrave out as well. And what that does is it forces a linebacker or a safety to cover Musgrave in space. And obviously at 6'5", you like your chances there. But the other thing I want to point out is the parallel that we've seen here between what's happened to Tucker Kraft and what happened to Christian Watson. It's almost identical, right? Christian Watson blows out his ACL at the end of the season last year, going into a contract year. Well, he battled back, made it back from the ACL, and he was rewarded with a 2-year deal, right? Or a 1-year extension, I should say, kind of a bridge deal there to prove, all right, you're healthy, you're the same player, and so on and so forth. This kind of lines up the same way for Tucker Kraft. And it sucks for Tucker Kraft because, as we all know, that cost Christian Watson a lot of money. And listen, I'm a Packer fan first and foremost. If any of these players on this team are traded, cut, quit, retire, whatever, and move on, I'm always going to be a Packer fan. I never understood the people that followed Favre to the Jets, right? Or followed Aaron to the Jets or whatever. Insert, your favorite former Packer player. But I will acknowledge, though, that with all that being said, it just sucks for Tucker Kraft, just like it sucked for Christian Watson. It cost him a lot of money. It's probably going to cost Tucker some money here. Now, the positive is Christian Watson tore his in December, right? I think it was the last week of the season, if I remember correctly. Tucker Kraft's doing it basically a month early, right? Maybe a month and a half early, whatever the exact day is. So that will give him a little bit of a jump start. So if Christian Watson was able to get ready for this season by whatever week it was when he went out there against Pittsburgh last week, that would have been week 8, I guess. I imagine Tucker probably going to be about 6 weeks ahead of Christian Watson. Now, I know there's going to be people in the comments saying, Clayton, everybody heals different. That's totally true. Totally true. Just giving you a rough outline of, hey, here's maybe a projection of how long he will be out, if that makes sense. So, but again, just wanted to point out, he's in the next to last year of his contract, so he's going to be going into the final year of his contract, having to prove it, just like Christian Watson did, right? Now, let's look at the other tight ends on this football team. So you've got Luke Musgrave, 54.4. His pass blocking grade's a 73.8. His drop grade, guys, is a 77.3. Now, this is PFF. Take it with a grain of salt. But according to PFF, his drop grade is significantly better than Tucker Kraft's at a 51.7. Luke Musgrave had a 77.3. Okay. His receiving grade, however, is a 61.8 as opposed to Tucker Kraft's 82.9. I think the receiving grade, there's a lot of things that come into play there. They're grading the separation, the route running. Did they run the right choice route? There's a lot of things they try to guess at over at PFF. So I'm expecting Luke Musgrave's grade to spike here. I'm expecting it to jump into the 60s. Will it jump into the 70s? Will it get up there where Tucker is? I don't know, man. I don't know. If I had to put money on it, if I had to bet the farm on it, I would say no. But I am holding out a little bit of hope that, hey, maybe this is what Musgrave, it's definitely not what Musgrave wanted. Obviously, him and Tucker Kraft are very good friends, but this might be the break he needed to show us that, hey, he is the real deal. And again, when you've got Tucker Kraft established as your true Y, and Musgrave was filling that role as what we call the U tight end, when you approach it that way, you're never going to be the primary target. Every now and again, they may see something on tape and scheme the U open and go, hey, we really like the U in this matchup. We're going to give this loop, this boot action to get you the football. Sure, that's true. But everything was geared around, and Matt LaFleur said it, trying to make the offense run through Tucker Kraft, right? So when you look at his grades, guys, Musgrave, it's easy to think of Musgrave of how he played in 2024, where he only had 9 targets because he was hurt, right? And then he comes out this year and he's got limited guys. He only had 10 targets this year, right? Well, if you go all the way back to his rookie year, when you get a really good sample size, he had 52 targets, 40 catches for 418 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good. His drop grade there too, 82.2. Again, the yak is what's the problem with Musgrave. Maybe he can fix that this year, right? And you know what? You don't necessarily have to make him fix it. Catch the football. Take what the defense is giving you from that tight end position. We're not asking you to be Tucker Kraft. We're asking you to be the best version of Luke Musgrave as possible, right? And again, you can counteract that where you're kind of being forced to play left-handed without Tucker Kraft. you can kind of press into 11 personnel. Once Jaden Reed comes back, your receiving core is completely healthy. Now you're off and running. Based off this information, I was very vocal in the video this morning that I did not want to trade Romeo Doubs unless it was just a crazy amount of draft capital. This just kind of solidifies that, getting this news that Tucker Kraft is indeed out with the ACL. So John Fitzpatrick, another player that's on the team here. In 2023, he played for Atlanta, only one target, throw it out the window. 2024, only one target, throw it out the window. This year, early in 2025, 5 targets, 5 catches, and he does have a touchdown already. His offensive PFF grade is a 53.4. And on the early season here, it looks like his best game was at Cleveland, where he had a 76.9, where it looks like he had 2 targets, made both catches there. I'm trying to see the snaps if it'll show. I don't think I had the snaps pulled up. It's okay, though. So John Fitzpatrick's going to become your U tight end now. So you're going to have Musgrave in the Y, Fitzpatrick in the U, I would imagine. That way you can flex the Y out from time to time and get Musgrave out there in mismatches. So they're going to go sign a tight end. Maybe they'll trade for one, right? So if there's somebody on the trade market you'd like to see the Packers go after and you're watching this video later, throw it in the comments. Let us know. Let us know if there's a player out there that you think the Packers should go try to trade for. I'll tell you one that comes to mind for me, and he's probably not even available for the reasons I mentioned just a second ago, is because teams are really pressing into 12 personnel a lot. But as I jump over here to PFF, I want to show you guys a name here. And this isn't just because I'm a Notre Dame fan, all right? Brock Bowers out of Vegas, right? Obviously played for the Georgia Bulldogs. He's your best tight end in the football right now, 89.1. If you scroll down, another former, I believe he was a first-round pick, if I remember correctly, in the number 15 spot at a 69.4 is Michael Mayer. He also plays for Las Vegas. He's got 21 targets. Brock Bowers has 39. So listen, that's a long shot, obviously. That's the first name that popped in my mind. Like, I wonder if you could go get Michael Mayer because they have arguably the best tight end in football right now in Brock Bowers. But it's obvious with that 21 targets, unless Brock Bowers has been hurt, and it looks like he's only played 5 games. So maybe that skewed those targets and inflated them for Mayer a little bit. But I just assume they're probably running a lot of 12 personnel as well. That's a player I wouldn't mind to see them go after, go try to get, right? So just wanted to throw that out there, that there may be a tight end on the market that you could potentially go get, right? H.E. Solder in the chat says Mercedes Lewis could be a practice squad poach. He could, Solder, I think Mercedes Lewis would be a great addition to the team just from a leadership standpoint, right? I haven't watched his tape since he left Green Bay. Maybe he's as good as he's ever been. I don't hate that idea, right? To get an extra body in here. We know he knows LaFleur's offense. There's no two ways about that. Maybe that is the guy that LaFleur will go get. So we'll keep our eye on that. I just don't, and not that you are either, Soder. I know you're not. None of us can expect anybody that you bring in to do what Tucker Kraft was doing, right? Realistically. Now, if we look up in 3-4 weeks and we're pleasantly surprised that Musgrave is picked up right where Tucker left off and his numbers are very similar, that's awesome, right? Then, moving forward, when Tucker Kraft is healthy, you got one of the best tight end duos in football. So again, I'm not on the train of, hey, I think Luke Musgrave is the answer here. But I am on the train of, you see guys' numbers dip, obviously, and grades dip when they're not put in the best position to succeed. And I feel like that U position in Matt LaFleur's offense, it's not the focal point, right? It's not the part of the offense where you're like, okay, yeah, this position is going to shine. They're doing a lot of the ugly work. They're doing a lot of U sifting. They're doing a lot of chip and leaks, but typically in 12 personnel, Tucker's doing a chip and a leak as well. So you'd much rather get the ball to Tucker Kraft than Musgrave. So only time will tell, man. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, right? So it's a number one Packer fan. I'm just happy if Musgrave stays on his feet. So we'll see how everything shakes out. Again, hated to have to go live for this news. Was kind of expecting it. I'm sure everybody else was as well. But as Nick McSwain said earlier in the chat, this news is so much worse than the loss. Absolutely devastated for Tucker Kraft. He was having a breakout year. Very well said. Jen Wright in the chat, sorry, but I have no words. And King Tron, listen, I love Tucker Kraft, but thank the heavens we have the deepest receiving core in football. Both Christian Watson and RD can handle a large workload, and we have good receiving backs. We got this. Go Pack, go. I love the optimism there, Tron. Love it, dude. Love it. That's what we need right now, man. And again, you can you can put yourself in one of two camps. You can either pile on with the overly negative camps, who, by the way, the poll question is showing me that's just a very, very, very loud minority that wants Matt LaFleur gone. We'll talk about that on PTA tonight. We'll show you the poll results. I want it to run all day long, but last I checked, it was 70% was no, and 30% were yes. So those fans that are screaming for Matt LaFleur's head today, I was a little worried, because I'm seeing tweet after tweet, and I'm going, man, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm in the extreme minority, and I'm one of just a few people that want to keep Matt LaFleur. Maybe it is that bad, Now the poll question is suggesting those are just the loudest on X, and the comments are suggesting that as well. So, like Jen Wright says, the season's not over. It is not over. So you can be one of the negative fans and call for, you need to fire him, you need to fire them, you need to cut him. Jordan Love's a bump. You can do all that all you want, or you could jump on the wagon with us and go, you know what? We're going to focus on the positive. We're going to try to find answers to the solution. We're going to see if we can predict what those answers to the problem is, not solution, but the answers to the problem is before we actually find those answers out, right? That's what we do on this show. We try to do deep dives. We try to break everything down. We try to look at it with the glass half full. So if that's the type of stuff you're looking for, make sure you hit subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. And also let me know in the comments, guys, if you're watching this video back later, whether it was the live stream video or the one that we'll throw up in the video section, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about Tucker Kraft's injury? Obviously, we're all devastated. Is Musgrave the answer? Do we just press forward with Musgrave, Fitzpatrick, and get someone for depth? Do you go out and try to trade for a tight end and see if you can maximize your opportunity there if someone is having a fire sale or just looking to get rid of a good player? So let us know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for jumping in here. Sorry we had to cut this video, but hey, it's part of being a fan, man. There's ups and downs, but we're going down with the ship no matter what the news is. So we'll see you guys tonight, 6 p.m. Central for PTA Live. My name's Clayton. This is Packers Total Access. Go Pack Go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.